Hello, everybody. Welcome to our event today with Auvik, streamlining the onboarding process. I am Dan Tomaszewski with Everything MSP. Hope everybody's doing great. And today we are joined with our friends here at Auvik, and we have Nolan Green, who's the product marketing manager, as well as Steve Chan, who is the director of product management. And we're very excited today to talk about the onboarding process. As we know, as MSPs, the onboarding process can be a difficult process at times, and it really shouldn't be painful. But the state of many of the networks that we're introduced to, they provide us with challenges from time to value. And so we're going to have a discussion about network discovery and how it can assist you in proactively solving many of the common onboarding issues, while setting you and your client up for success, because that's what it's all about. And so with that being said, I'm gonna share our two guests here, Nolan and Steve. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, Dan. Thank you.
Awesome. And Steve, how about you? How's it going today?
Awesome today. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Very cool. I appreciate you guys both being here. We're gonna kick things off. As everybody has any questions, just to let you know, if you do have questions, just go ahead and put them right into chat right there in Facebook, and we will be able to answer those for you. And with that being said, let's kick it off, Steve. Let's talk about the onboarding process.
Thanks, Dan. And as mentioned, I'm Nolan Green, and I'm product marketing manager for Auvik. And to tell you a little bit more about what Auvik does, we're a SaaS-based network monitoring and management solution for both MSP and corporate networks. What we enable is a centralized, out-of-the-box management and monitoring experience, what we like to call the new last mile of the network. That meaning everywhere that work happens. So the traditional office, the remote office, the home office, the on-the-road office, as I'm experiencing right now, you can see all those network connections in Auvik. And I will be joined by Steve Chan, our product management director, who will give us a quick demo at the end of my presentation today. So today,
that's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that demo with Steve. So that's a great little bonus here for us today.
Absolutely. So today we'll talk through the challenges of client onboarding and how to make onboarding better for all the roles within your MSP and ultimately benefit your clients. We will be taking questions throughout and after the demo, so please give us your best questions as well. So I think everyone on the call knows that organizations seek out MSPs to make their IT lives easier, to perform IT management better and more cost effectively than an organization could do on its own. And I doubt that there's any surprise that when beginning the onboarding process, that MSPs rarely encounter so-called perfect networks. Often you find issues ranging from unknown devices to rogue devices to old equipment that is challenging to support. It's very rare that organizations even know the full extent of all the devices on their network and are not really able to see where all the problems lie and what problems might be around the bend based on factors such as expiring licenses and firmware and just new points of weakness that haven't really come to fruition yet. And that's because in many cases, network documentation is outdated, incomplete, and quite frankly, hard to make sense of. At Auvik, we like to say that manual documentation, like you see on the screen, it's outdated before it's even finished. And if it's done by hand and maintained in static platforms like Visio and Excel, it can be very difficult to reference when trying to find where a problem might lie on the network. Manual documentation also has more limited ability to give you contextual information that can be useful for troubleshooting. For example, on a static map, it's not intuitive to see a situation such as a consumer-grade router plugged into an enterprise switch or a completely rogue device introduced by an employee that's just camping out on the network. There is no way to see how traffic traverses the network in these documentation systems as well. The bottom line is you cannot see the full picture of what is happening, much less in real time. So what surprises will you find on networks? you'll probably find old equipment that can't be supported by a lot of modern tools. You'll see unknown equipment, like I mentioned, both rogue equipment and just simply forgotten devices. And you'll see some shadow IT, things that have been brought in by employees that weren't quite cleared with the IT department, or aren't fully known by all the people who matter. And in the meantime, end user support calls don't stop. When onboarding a new client, you don't get to take a break and say, hey, I'm not responding to any calls until this a new network is discovered, till we're fully operational with it. Everything's happening at the same time. Your MSP needs to know how to come up to speed on these networks quickly, so you can keep driving lower MTTR and other beneficial outcomes for both your incumbent clients and your new clients as well. So
Nolan, I just wanted to throw in one thing, you mentioned the devices, those unknown devices, the rogue devices. It really is amazing how often that when you go in and do discovery, that you're finding devices that are above ceiling tiles, that are behind other closed doors that you had no idea were there. And, it can be, if you don't know about it, it can be detrimental to the whole onboarding process and the support process.
Absolutely. I'll share an anecdote about that. And actually, it may have been you who was discussing this with me. But this week, someone was telling me about devices that basically got walled over in an old closet, and they were still plugged in. They were still running, but now they're out of sight, out of mind. And of course, that's probably going to introduce some problems later. So you need, discovery of the entire network is so critical.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about what onboarding looks like for each role in the organization, because definitely there's a lot of nuance depending on what role you play in the MSP. So if you're a VCIO, you want to sell better projects and you want to streamline operations quickly for the support team. You want to make clear the points of differentiation that your MSP offers to strengthen the client relationship, continue to expand projects and retain your customers. And you're also the central point of contact for the client. So anything that goes wrong on the network, if it doesn't get fixed, it will eventually find its way to you. At the same time, you're not looking to reactively solve problems, fight fires. You're seeking to be strategic. You don't want to sell reactive services. You want to sell transformational network services. So you need systems like automated documentation and mapping and next generation network management and monitoring that integrate with other modern IT tools, such as ITSM tools, and that allow you to sell projects that can address the here and now, but also be ready to proactively attack the future. Meanwhile, if you're on the network team, you want tools that can bring on new clients into your support structure quickly and also solve problems proactively. You're the boots on the ground for the MSP. And as such, you're looking to reduce MTTR, increase customer satisfaction, and perhaps most importantly, never be shocked and surprised by what's happening on the network. We don't like those unhappy surprises. You want to identify problems quickly, remediate them quickly, and develop sustainable solutions for recurrences so that you don't have to spend long cycles solving the same problems again if you can't prevent a particular type of problem from happening again altogether. And if you're on the support services team, you're that first point of contact for the client, and you want to increase first call resolution. MSPs, we recommend look to systems that enable support services technicians to avoid escalations and solve problems through automation on that first point of contact. Not only can this be very career empowering for a junior technician, to have that sense of accomplishment at solving a problem right away, but this frees up time for the VCIO and the network team to work on those strategic, forward-looking transformational projects that we referenced. So let's take a look at what an ideal client onboarding cycle looks like. So here you see the 5 steps of the client onboarding lifecycle, from evaluation to onboarding to implementation to ongoing support in that stabilized transformational IT environment. And of course, we're focusing here on this second point today. For ultimate success, we recommend the following. First, roll out cloud-based network management. Today's networks look a lot different than the networks of the past. We mentioned that last mile of the new last mile of the network. that work from anywhere environment, your network is truly distributed, not only amongst corporate locations, but also home and remote offices, and as I like to say, roving offices. Today's networks are also multi-vendor and extremely dynamic. You need complete visibility into the network, including physical and logical topologies with detailed device profiles and the ability to see how everything is connected in real time as it is constantly changing. And you need that map to be searchable, be able to drill into a particular device and see everything that's going on. Is it up? Is it on the latest firmware? What's its licensing information? And by doing this, you eliminate surprises with new clients. You can share information more easily. And this really gives the VCIO a reliable canvas for reimagining the network and helps the networking and support teams have better knowledge to troubleshoot correctly the first time and have learnings that can be built into automation and other more streamlined, repeatable ways of solving for common problems. Next, you need to understand how traffic flows and get deep network traffic insights. Solve bottlenecks and spot potential security vulnerabilities by understanding the traffic deeply. Today, do you know what data is flowing through your network? And are you able to spot irregularities like a huge spike in bandwidth? Just as important as knowing the device landscape is understanding the traffic landscape. What is being accessed on the network day to day? Is it enterprise applications that are mission critical for work? Or are a lot of non-work applications being accessed like Netflix and social media? Or is there something else that's completely anomalous and unexpected on the network? You need to be able to dive into that and understand what's happening. And that helps provide better services upon onboarding, knowing the source and destination of data to ensure that traffic is not going to or coming from malicious sites. And understanding these insights will really help in providing transformational network services. The next thing we recommend is to offer best-in-class config backups. Simply put, backups are lifesavers that help you recover from outages faster. And it's going to be a huge selling point for MSPs. In the case of an outage, configuration backups that are automatic and always up to date help you roll back to a recent version of the configuration and be up and running as soon as possible. And all this does in sum is help the MSP plan better network projects. But gone are the days when MSPs are expected just to be reactive and a provider of break-fix services. The network being such an important lifeblood of the business and any organization, if enterprises and other organizations and any kind of business doesn't take a forward-looking approach, they risk inefficiency and the ability and becoming unable to serve its core mission effectively. So today's MSPs need systems in place to help their clients streamline projects, understand network lifecycle, mitigate risk, and strengthen client relationships through optimized productivity and profitability. Now, I would like to hand it over to Steve Chan for a few minutes so that he can show you what this looks like in Auvik. And with the time remaining, we'll take questions.
I wanted to mention one quick thing too while Steve's getting set here. When it comes to selling managed services, I often like to say that, we take more of that crystal ball approach to managing IT versus the magic 8-ball approach, where you shake that magic 8-ball and say, is our IT going to work today? Or, what problems are there going to be out there? And, having a tool like Auvik to give you that insight truly is that crystal ball approach, because you need to be able to see within the network, whether you're offsite or onsite, there's a level of visibility that you just don't have without a tool like this. And
Absolutely.
With that said, we'll turn it over to Steve.
Yeah, just give me a second. Last minute technical difficulty. At least our sessions are working properly.
Right.
Logged up for too long. Just give me a second here while I bring that back up. Okay, share my screen. Hopefully you can see Auvik here, this topology map here. As Nolan discussed earlier, the first thing is to get visibility. I know what is on the network, what devices you have on there, and how are things connected. There may be a Visio map that was created during assessment, but it's probably out of date by now. Even before you put down the pen, it's probably already out of date. So having a continually updated map, such as the one you see here, is important to help with planning and troubleshooting, and to discover new devices. An example I hear very often is a rogue device, like an employee plugging in a consumer router that reassigns static IPs, can potentially wreak havoc and be really hard to troubleshoot. And being able to see it visually on the map makes it so much easier to troubleshoot, because you now see an extra device pop up on the map and it's like, no, I didn't expect that. What is that? Versus, trying to figure out trace wires and finding the source of the incident. It's imperative to have impeccable documentation. A lot of compliance standards now are asking you to have an inventory of what hardware there is and what software is actually running on it, and keeping that current, right? And just like the map, you want to have that done automatically to save you time. Besides compliance, this information is helpful to determine what is required to bring the client network to your operating standards. If they're running out-of-date hardware that's no longer getting security updates, or they're running outdated software, then those are things that you want to take care of very quickly as soon as you onboard the client. Finally, this also helps you reduce your mean time to resolution, by providing your team with the current information at their fingertips for troubleshooting. They don't need to, log onto the device, run commands to fetch all the information. It's all here in one spot, and they can just focus on resolving the incident. Speaking of reducing mean time to resolution, monitoring key metrics like online status, device utilization, bandwidth, packet metrics. This and setting up networks for that allows you to get notification around when a network incident is happening, or a condition that will lead to one is about to happen, and so that you can proactively address the incidents before your client calls you and say, the network's slow, what's going on? And then it takes a lot longer to resolve right after your client calls in. So, once you have a lay of the network topology and the inventory, the next thing you want to look at is what is using your network. With a traffic analysis tool like Auvik Traffic Insights, you can see what is consuming your bandwidth and whether those applications are business critical or not. So let's take an example here. If we look at this network here, someone's watching Netflix in the middle of the business day. That probably is not critical. I'm not saying watching Netflix is not necessarily a business critical activity, but let's assume it's not. And so in this situation, you might want to just give a gentle reminder to employees that this is not a business critical activity. Reserve it for after hours. Now, if it is a business critical activity, then you want to and if the network's at close or at capacity, then an upgrade to the network may be necessary. Before you get a stream of calls from your clients and their employees saying the application is slow and due to congestion, right? But finally, we can't control Mother Nature. when disaster strikes, you may have warranties to get the hardware replaced. But what about the time to set up those devices again, to configure them, right? This is where having automated configuration backups enables you to quickly restore those devices and bring you back, allows your client to be back in operation a lot faster, because all you're doing is now just restoring those configurations rather than configuring them from scratch. Yeah, and that concludes our quick demo of what a onboarded client would look like.
Awesome, Steve. Thank you for that. And there's just so much that comes to that. It's really interesting when you talk about like a Netflix or some other non-business related application. And I think some end users don't really think twice about it. Is not that they're trying to cause disruption or be malicious. I think they just don't think twice about it, and it can have a big impact on the network. And and the challenge though for us as we're supporting a network is not knowing where that degradation is coming from. If there's severe latency in a network, again, we can't just wave a magic wand and have it disappear as much as we'd love to. But certainly we need to be able to have that visibility and insight. And any other uniquenesses that you've seen, through the monitoring of the network that are unique that you find from time to time?
Yeah, I think right now we're seeing a lot of smart appliances show up now. That's usually it's not like a road device, but it's definitely not expected. Like all of these smart devices are connected to the network, and people don't give usually you don't think about it. And then when we look at the topology map, it's like, oh yes, those are actually connected to the network as well, and that's something we need to consider as well.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about shadow IT, we're often just talking about end users, departments, whatever the case may be, wanting to improvise, wanting to do things differently. And again, it's all for the better of what they're doing, but it's critical because of the impacts and it can have on the entire network and just the integration. But especially, you talk about the smart devices in the world of IoT. I think because sometimes when you add in a some type of IoT device, it could be a Nest thermostat. I think often we find that IT is kept out of that just because hey, I've installed a Nest thermostat at home. It's easy enough to do, and you don't know that that's happening. You don't know that those devices are out there, and this just gives that insight. And it looks like we do have a question, and let me just pull it up here. Question came up here. You mentioned moving away from break-fix models. What is the risk of staying with that model?
I certainly have a point of view on that, but Dan, I'd also be interested in hearing your point of view.
Yeah, I think, when you take a look at what we're doing in the world of management, the old days of break fix, we sit back, wait for the phone to ring, wait for the client to have problems. But the whole direction is to, just disrupt that, move it to more of, like I mentioned, that crystal ball approach, that proactive preventative maintenance, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our clients don't have issues. And more of those that are in the break fix world have already converted over to managed services. Where it's detrimental is when it comes down to compliance. There is more and more regulation that's coming down. More organizations are under different type of regulation. And so when an audit happens, if an organization is just living in the break fix world, whether it be the end user, the client, or the provider, if an IT provider is only providing break fix, it basically puts them behind the 8 ball. It puts them, outside of being able to compete. And, if you don't have a managed program in place and you don't have it, especially in today's world, it needs to be very comprehensive. You need to have as much insight into that network as possible due to the liabilities that accompany just the world of it being break fix.
Absolutely. You want to prevent outages and poor performance. I know it's cliche, but the network truly is a utility like heat, hot water, electricity these days. And you don't want to be without any of those things for hours. You don't want to be without the network for hours. Your business can't be without the network for hours.
Absolutely. And, and I like to say, we are here to, provide our talents. Of course, there's all aspects of the blinky lights that we're here to focus on. But we also have to start having those business conversations, the business technology conversations, and what it means to the organization and how the technology can impact their organization, but also how it can help them improve, overall workflow, the efficiencies, the customer experience, and so on. So, Steve, was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I think you covered everything that I can think of.
Awesome. And so we just have a couple minutes left. I do want to mention that in the chat, I did throw in a link. So if you would like to learn more about Auvik, there is a link there. So go ahead and click on that link and it will take you to our site where you can just throw in your contact information and we'll have a member of the Auvik team reach out to you. Nolan has also added in some contact information here to visit auvik.com and also has a number to be able to reach the team at Auvik. And Steve, Nolan, anything you want to add as we wrap up here today?
I just want to say thank you all for your time today. Thanks, Dan, for having me and Steve as a guest. And thank you, Steve, for showing how Auvik supports all the key roles in MSP onboarding. And this really, again, I want to thank our audience for spending time with us today. And please reach out to us with any questions.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your time and sharing your knowledge with us. Everybody who watched us here today and joined us, thank you very much for your time. We know your time is precious, and we hope you all have a great day. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.